Get ready to take a look behind the scenes and enter the impossible for the Between Two Minds podcast with our hosts, Judge Mentalist and Bernardo Rodriguez. Can they really tell you what you're thinking?
Good afternoon and good evening. If you're tuning in from the U.S. West Coast, good morning. If you're tuning in from Australia, go to bed. It is time to sleep. This is Judge Mentalist. I'm back for another fun edition of this series of videos, these podcasts, these interviews that we're doing with presenters for the upcoming 2025 Performing Hypnosis Summit. This is the third year of the summit, the second year that the summit has had a live component, and it is growing each and every year. Today, I am sitting down or across the screen from somebody who has an extensive history in the world of hypnosis, quite a pedigree over across the pond. Good evening to you, Jonathan Royle.
Good evening, Joba. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well. Happy to be here and get down to business and talking about what's upcoming. But before we get to the PHS element, which is obviously why we're here doing this, for anybody who does not know, let's get into a little bit of your background in hypnosis, the short version, because I know that it's we could probably do an hour podcast, just grazing over your history in the profession.
The short version, before I give it you, I'll just say in advance, as it were, that some of this may sound incredibly egotistical and arrogant, and I don't mean it to, but in order to answer the question briefly, I have to cut to the chase. So the simple fact is, as I sit here now, today, on the 4th of October 2024, I am 49 years of age in Earth years. I was born on the 13th of August 1975. I mentioned that so then you can work out for yourselves, so it saves time. Key points of my career, namely that I made my performance debut aged 3 in late 1978 as Flat the Clown on Gandeys Circus here in England, because I was born into a circus family. I then started doing magic and stage illusions, cutting people in half and all that kind of stuff at around the age of 10 professionally, albeit I'd already been doing it as a hobby whilst I was working professionally as a clown. By the time I was about 12, moved into mentalism, mind reading. By 1989, when I turned 14 years of age, in that year, I became the youngest ever member and youngest ever person to become a certified clinical hypnotherapist member of the Association of Professional Hypnotherapists and Psychotherapists here in England. And in a kind of Victor Khayyam, the electric shaver guy kind of way, I was so impressed by the course and where it took me that in years to come, I actually bought the organisation and the training course off Dr. Brian Howard, who'd started it in the early 80s. So I started actually seeing clinical hypnotherapy clients in 1989, age 14, believe it or not, but that's documented media fact. And then in 1990, age 15, I was working at the psychic fair circuit, both contacting the dead. To my eternal shame, some might say, I was one of those people who claim to contact your loved ones from the other side. And I also did spiritual healing as part of those live shows in the civic halls and theatres, which at the end of the day is just the use of the placebo effect and suggestion. It's eyes open hypnosis at the end of the day. That's what spiritual healing is. And I say that as someone who did it working alongside some of the biggest names in the industry from around the world. But then I segued into at psychic fairs as well, doing public demonstrations, because doing the demonstrations, the little talks, meant you got more people coming for tarot readings and whatnot. So effectively, I did a stage hypnosis show. That is what I was doing at the psychic fairs. But before I turned 16, so I was still 15, I actually started doing pubs, clubs, and entertainment venues. You'd never get away with it now. I don't, how, and I went on my own, or I took a driver with me, but not with my parents. maybe it's because of the background I came from, being brought up on the circus. But it would be inconceivable to think, A, that a parent would allow their 15-year-old to go off to some licensed premises and do a show, or B, that a licensed premises would even book the individual. Now, yes, I was lying about my age, saying I was 18. However, they never asked for any proof.
Right.
Believe me, I did not look 18. All you've got to do is go and have a look on my career resume website, Magical Guru, magicalguru.co.uk, and there's pictures of me there when I was 15, turning 16, claiming to be 18, and I look about 14, to be honest. So God knows, it was, looking back on it, it was bizarre. People will believe what they want to believe, Louis. In itself, that was a lesson. People didn't think, well, he looks 14, so he's probably 14. No, why would it? It's inconceivable that a 14 or 15-year-old would have contacted them, booked a hypnosis showing. It just because it was so bizarre, it would never cross their mind that could be the case. And that in itself is a valuable lesson for hypnotists. The more blatant you are with something, but keeping a serious face, so you look as though you believe what you're doing, the more likely it is to work. So I was doing that from the age of 15. In 1993, in January 1993 to be precise, when I was still 17 years of age, although they didn't know that because I was claiming to be 18. So on the television show, if you go and look on YouTube, on my Celebrity Hypnotist YouTube channel, and type in The Word, because that was the name of the show, The Word, they say I was 18 and Europe's youngest professional stage hypnotist. Well, in truth, I was 17, and I'd actually been doing paid hypnosis shows since 1990, age 15. But nonetheless, I appeared on that in January 1993 alongside international television hypnotist Peter Powers in a so-called Battle of the Hypnotist competition, which you can see the video on my Celebrity Hypnotist YouTube channel. And since then, with the exception of the past sort of couple of years, although it may still apply for the past couple of years, I just haven't checked out the television schedules for every place in the world. So I'll just talk prior to a couple of years ago. Since 1993, there's not been a year where I've not appeared somewhere in the world on television as a hypnotist, whether that's in a therapeutic context or a stage hypnotist. Most years that's been with another show, but some years I can still claim that because of repeats being shown. So like a show that was made in England ended up getting shown on the Discovery Channel in America a few years ago, whatever. But ultimately what it means is there are very few stage hypnotists on the planet or hypnotherapists who've done as much television as me. There's a handful of people who've done more. People like Darren Brown, people like... has Tom Silver done more? He's certainly done more in America, but I mean, worldwide, there's a very few. So television-wise, been there, done it, worn out the T-shirt. Had my own television special, 1 hour adults only, because I was known as Europe's most outrageous hypnotist in the 90s. I had my own 1 hour special on German RTL TV in 1994. And then I had a 6-part European bizarre, surreal, kind of variety show sitcom, I call it, called Life in the Bus Lane, that was made in Amsterdam in 2001. And then appearances on chat shows, TV shows, entertainment shows around the world. The reason I'm saying this is that television-wise, been there, done it, worn out the T-shirt. Radio shows around the world, been there, done it, worn out the T-shirt. Live shows in theatres. I'd done more live shows in theatres by the time I got to like 1994 and I was aged 18. The most,
like legitimately 18, not part of the 3-year stretch.
Well, I was genuinely 18 in 1994, yeah. But I've been lying about being 18 since I was 15. I'd done more theatre shows, doing past life regression shows for the psychic arena, or comedy stage hypnosis shows, or psychic themed, but basically there were still stage hypnosis shows. In theatre venues, the most stage hypnotists do in an entire career. The fact is, in terms of live performances for audiences, I'd done more of them because I was doing 2 shows a day, 6 days a week from the age of 3 on the circus. I'd done more by the time I was 10 than most people ever do in a lifetime.
Right,
yes,
right.
It sounds egotistical and arrogant, but you know, they're going about having flight time, stage time. I've forgotten more than most people will ever know. Yes, it sounds egotistical and arrogant, but the reason I'm saying it isn't to brag. It's because I want people to realize that when I say in the 90-minute presentation that I'm going to give at Performing Hypnosis Summit 2025, live in Las Vegas, or if you can't make it there, don't worry, you can attend online via Zoom, and also recordings will be available. So you don't have to miss it. Lock in the low price that Joe Beth will put the links for booking your ticket, obviously below this video. I want you to realize that when I make this statement, this claim, that I can back it. And that is, there is nothing about stage hypnosis, performance hypnosis, or hypnotherapy that I haven't done at some point in my career. Further than that, again, it sounds egotistical or arrogant, but the proof is on magicalguru.co.uk. There are links to press cuttings. There are links to videos of TV shows, live shows. There are links to testimonials from famous name television life coaches, television celebrity hypnotists that I have either taught from scratch and got them into the industry, or they didn't become massively, truly successful until they had coaching and mentoring with me. So it's going to sound egotistical, hard to believe when I make this statement, but go and try and disprove it. You won't be able to. I have taught more people who are currently successful, and by successful, I mean really successful. People appearing on TV shows, people headlining on 5-star cruise ships like the Royal Caribbean cruise lines, the top-notch ones, people who are filling theatres, people who are working for celebrities, royalty around the world than any other living, and that's the key, than any other living. If we had Orban McGill and Gil Boyne still alive, I might not be able to say this, but than any other living trainer of stage hypnosis. And the same applies to hypnotherapy. I have taught more who are currently successful and, selling out best-selling books, appearing on TV shows around the world than any other living trainer of hypnotherapy. And there's no one else on this planet who is teaching even remotely close the level of truth of how this actually works and how to get to that level in the industry with provable, backable students worldwide than me. Yes, I know it sounds egotistical and arrogant, but try and prove me wrong. You won't be able to. If you think you can, then report me to the Advertising Standards Authority here in England, because for me to make these claims without being able to prove them would actually be the criminal, jailable offence of fraud.
In your country, we certainly here in the States need something like that because, well,
but in this country it would be, and I'm in this country making those claims. So you can report me. You can report me to the authorities if you can disprove anything that I've just claimed. You won't be able to, but try. Have fun doing that. I know it sounds egotistical and arrogant, but at the Performing Hypnosis Summit 2025, well, last year, let's take a jump back to last year, or rather this year, 2024, at the 2024 event, and if you go to my Celebrity Hypnotist YouTube channel and type in Performing Hypnosis Summit in the search box, the recording of the talk I gave this year is there. It was basically, I put together a whole bunch of clips of TV shows from around the world that I'd done from 1993 up to the present day. Some would have seen it as being an ego fest and me masturbating and bragging about having achieved so much in the industry. However, there were at the end of it all some very key messages shared and some would say very controversial points made, as there was the previous year, which the video is also on there to be found, especially in relation to safety health and safety, duty of care, and legal issues that affect stage hypnosis performers around the world, or things that I say should affect all stage hypnosis performers around the world. For example, and I won't dwell on this too long because I know it always makes Grant and Jim go, ah! But that's the fact that I do not believe a single stage hypnotist anywhere in the world should ever be allowed to hypnotize anyone under the age of 18 on stage or in any context for entertainment purposes, because you unknowingly could be causing them long-term damage in their life. And I go into detail about how that happens. And there are people doing it, they're not even aware of it, because the executive function, the critical faculty, the analytical area of the brain, call it what you will, but proper psychologists call it the executive function, does not fully form. It's not this 0 to 7 years of age, formative years, Sigmund Freud stuff. It's not true. Studies have proven it's actually, in a lot of people, doesn't fully form or start fully forming until late teenage years. For some people, it's even later than that. But until that's fully formed, the experience of participating as a volunteer in a comedy stage hypnosis show, even if you have volunteered and are willingly consenting to take part, can have dangerous psychological long-term effects. And 99% of people in this industry are not teaching that to people because they don't fucking know. In fact, in that regard, there is nobody on this planet who has ever released a safety course for stage hypnotists that comes even remotely close to my package, the transparency template. And that's not a sales pitch, because you know what I did? Yesterday, the 3rd of October, 2024, I took the transparency template, which other people have paid hundreds of dollars for and said it was worth many times a small price, and I placed it onto the playlists of my YouTube Celebrity Hypnotist channel. Amongst them, there's one called, I don't know off the top of my head, so I'm literally going to my YouTube channel now. You go to Celebrity Hypnotist YouTube channel, click on playlist, and there's one called Secrets of Stage Hypnosis, Street Hypnotism, plus Laws, Licensing and Safety for Entertainment Hypnotists. And when you go into that playlist, there are 4 videos that headed Transparency Template, Safe and Legal Stage Hypnosis. You can watch them for free, and I guarantee you will learn more about health and safety, duty of care, and how to perform legally, lawfully, licensed, insured, and above all else, safe anywhere in the world than you'll have ever learned from any hypnosis trainer on the planet, or any so-called safe on stage that Justin James put out. It's just a way of getting insurance. In terms of being a safety course, it's shit. I teach more in 5 minutes on the transparency template than that entire safety course does. It doesn't even scrape the surface. Sorry, I've gone off on one. This year,
we will. What I will do when we are done here, I will take the YouTube channel, the whole link to the whole YouTube channel. I'll throw it in the description on the YouTube. Just now, everybody that wants to see any of these things, because you put what, 17 different playlists out?
I bought 17 different full-length courses, each of which I previously in the past, some have sold for $300, some sold for $500. To buy them all individually would normally cost you in excess of $5,000. I've now, for a limited time, put them free. You don't have to enter an email address or anything like that. It's not a lead generation system. None of that bullshit. You just go to the YouTube channel, go to playlist, and there's hypnotherapy ones, stage hypnosis ones, marketing ones, and I'm doing it and leaving them there for, I don't know how long yet, but I'll guarantee they'll be there for the next month. I might leave them there longer to prove, to put my money where my mouth is, that nobody on this planet teaches in a more direct, honest, no bullshit manner than me. Nobody comes even close, and the proof is there on that channel. And the icing on the cake for those people who attend, whether it's live in person or online via Zoom, or they just lock in the low price at the ticket link that you'll give them for the Performing Hypnosis Summit 2025, so they can get the video recordings, is that in my 90-minute presentation, I'm going to teach things that are not cannot be found anywhere in those videos that are on YouTube for free.
Okay.
And that no other hypnosis trainer on the planet, as far as I'm aware, is teaching or has the balls to teach. And amongst this, I have a special guest with me who's also been in the industry since the very late 80s, early 90s as a stage hypnotist and has traveled the world, been there, done it as well, who will back me up, as it were. So you're not just hearing what is going to be highly shocking and upsetting to a lot of people. But once they get over themselves and realize that it will be the truth, the fully unvarnished truth, the no bullshit truth, that in 90 minutes during my presentation, there's no such thing as hypnosis. It's just all suggestion, which in itself is an oxymoron, because suggestion is a word that basically means you suggest to somebody that they may do something or they might not. That's bullshit. We should be dealing in commands and in a manner whereby they cannot refuse to do it, so you can never fucking fail. Excuse the language. And that's what the 90 minutes in January 2025 is going to cover. I like everybody else in the early days, and there's videos galore on my YouTube channel to prove it, would say ask for volunteers, 20, 30 people will come up, and after I'd gone through things, I end up with maybe a dozen. Or some nights only end up with half a dozen. But these people had volunteered. Here's the thing. When you know what I'm going to teach you in January 2025 at the Performing Hypnosis Summit, if 12 people volunteer to come on stage, you will do your show with 12 people all the way through. If 20 people volunteer, you'll do your show with the 12 people that you want to do it with, because, I mean, you could do it with all 20, but I say that anything more than 12 people on stage is a health and safety and duty of care nightmare, and potential negligence claims could be made against you just having too many American hypnotists. Mainly, I'm sorry, but it's mainly in America. If 30, 40 people get up, they'll use all 30, 40 of them if it's a student show. Don't do it. It's dangerous. You cannot possibly keep an eye on all that. And there's some wankers out there.
A lot of corralling. Yeah.
And there's some wankers out there who are using videos of shows like that to market their stage hypnosis blueprint university. Yes, I'm actually saying who it is. Wanker! What you show on those videos is dangerous, and you should fucking get sued for letting people drop on other people, because that is something that happens to them. They did not consent to have somebody drop on them. But you wanker, are using video footage of shows like that to try and market and teach other people how to harm people in that same manner. That's what's wrong with this industry. Anyway, sorry, I ranted there. In January 2025...
But you make a good point, because there is so much stuff that you see out there. What you've described, similar situations to what you've described, people just dropping like boom to the ground. Street hypnotists who are putting people to the street. So there's health and safety concerns, like all sorts of stuff. Again,
this is going to sound egotistical and arrogant, but I guarantee you this: if you have not studied all 12 hours of the 4 videos that I mentioned, the transparency template, which you now have no excuse. In the past, you might have gone, "Oh, I don't want to risk money spending in case they're not as good as it claims." Well, at the moment, they're free, and they will be for at least the next 30 days, possibly longer, but definitely the next 30 days. If you've not studied every minute, every second of them, I don't care if you've been in the industry as long as I have or even longer. I guarantee there's stuff on there you don't know, especially in relation to health and safety, duty of care, and legal things that will make you a safer, more competent, and also more confident, and therefore more successful hypnotist as well. But January 2025 is going to be the icing on the cake, because I'm going to teach you stuff that basically means 12 people come on stage, you'll do your show with 12 people. In other words, you can never fail. The way most people teach hypnosis has been taught wrong. I was taught wrong as well, because I would end up with start off with 20 people and maybe some nights end up with one. I've had shows where I've ended up with one person. That will never happen ever again in my entire career because of the techniques that I can now use that are guaranteed to be taught during my 90-minute presentation along with my guest, the Performing Hypnosis Summit in January 2025. So whether you're there live in Las Vegas, and if I manage to make it there in person, and I say if I manage to make it there, because at the moment I genuinely don't know if I'm going to be there in person or whether I'm going to be delivering this from England via Zoom. And I won't know until a couple of days before. And the reason for this is very, very briefly, if you want to know, if anyone's interested in knowing more, they can just go to circusofthemind.net. But very briefly, I am have a legal case that is due to start trial in the High Courts of England, the Royal Courts of Justice, in the middle of January 2025, where I'm due to appear in court alongside the Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry, former British Prime Minister Gordon Brown, Lord Tom Watson, former MP, British pop star Talisa Kontostavlos, and another 37 people, making 41 of us in total that are currently due in court for a trial that's scheduled for 13 weeks. Now, if it goes ahead, this trial, if I end up in court, I may not be able to make it to Vegas because I just won't be able to get there. Do it, well,
understandable.
However, it is quite possible because I am suing News Group newspapers, and for anyone who doesn't know who they are owned by Rupert Murdoch, the media mogul, who you will have heard of, Fox News and this, that, the other. I'm suing him for phone hacking, unlawful information gathering, and defamation of character, which briefly, but in 1994, the Sun newspaper in England ran an article, Dirty Trancing, claiming I hypnotized women to have sex with me while they were under hypnosis. And they portrayed it in a manner that this was done without their consent, which is completely untrue. And because of that, for years, I've had people in the industry trying to cause me problems, giving me hatred because they say, you know, they go, well, the paper wouldn't have been allowed to print that if it wasn't true. Do a little bit of research about Rupert Murdoch and his papers. Do a bit of research about the News of the World being closed down. Do a bit of research about phone hacking and the Leveson inquiry, and you'll soon see, yes, they can. Unfortunately, in the 1994, when they did this, to take a case to court, you would have needed anywhere from 50 to 100,000 pounds. So about, say, 150,000 US dollars spare to risk just to get it going to court. And I just didn't have that spare money to risk at the time. As it is now, laws have changed. Things, the costs are different. Although if I lose, I'm still in the hole for tens and tens of thousands of pounds. But the fact is, yeah, the details of that are at circusofthemind.net. Semi-irrelevant, other than the relevance to this is, if you've heard rumours about me apparently having hypnotized women into bed against their will, untrue. And that will be settled either in court in early 2025 or out of court before then, because they could make me what they call a Part 36 settlement offer. And what this means is, and this is British law again, and you can Google this and check, because people think, well, why have these celebrities who've taken phone hacking cases against Rupert Murdoch, why have none of them made it to court? Why have they ended up taking the money if they were that bothered about what happened to them? And it's because of a thing called Part 36. If News Group newspapers make me a Part 36 offer, and they were to offer me even £1 more than it would realistically be expected for the judge to award me were the matter to go to court, if I turn down that Part 36 offer, then go to court, win, and the judge doesn't award me more than what was in the Part 36 offer, which is highly unlikely because people in a legal profession know what the, you know.
Yeah.
But if that was to happen and I wasn't awarded more, which you wouldn't be, then even though I'd won the case, I would become legally liable for all of News Group newspapers' legal costs, which, to put it in perspective, will run into the tune, I am told, of around the £10 million sterling mark. So about 14 million US dollars. So as you can imagine, I can't afford to risk that. So if they make me an offer that my barrister advises is even £1 more, $1 more than what a judge would be expected to award me, then I'll have no choice but to accept it, which means I will not get to step foot in court and lay out all the evidence that I've got, that what they published was a pack of lies, fabricated lies, and that later in 1998, when they accused me of being a drug smuggling, counterfeit money supplying, Uzi gun salesman pimp of underage girls, that was all entirely fabricated nonsense. And the truth of the matter was, it was a backfired attempt by me to expose a guy called the Fake Sheikh Mazza Mahmood. And if you go on Amazon Prime, there's a 3-part series called The Fake Sheikh, exposing how he fabricated stings on people and perjured himself and whatnot. But on my website, circusofthemind.net, there is evidence there laid out, which you can check for yourself, basically showing that I was drugged without my knowledge or consent by this reporter to be more easily manipulated. I was socially engineered by a team of people, including my former publicist, who was on the payroll of the Fake Sheikh Mazza Mahmood. They published stuff that I never actually ever said, claimed I did things I never actually did. And you think, how can this happen? Remember, this paper was closed down for hacking the mobile phone of a murdered schoolgirl. It's scandal galore. And the Fake Sheikh in 2014, he did this bullshit story on me in 1998, but in 2014, he tried to do a drug sting and lie about British pop star Talita Kontos-Davlos, but the judge caught him out lying on the stand and the case collapsed. And since then, in the past 3 years alone, evidence has come to light, which you can see at circusofthemind.net, which, damn, I very nearly managed to expose him in 1998, but it backfired. But I didn't know how deep the rabbit hole ran. I didn't know that he was illegally hacking people's phones. I didn't know that back then. I didn't know he drugged me back then. I just thought that he fabricated lies and published bullshit. And that was the intended story. I was going to go in there, pretend to be a pimp, which I did, pretend to be. And then when he asked for some girls to be booked and come to the hotel, I'd ring up a local massage parlor from the local newspaper and have them come to the hotel when I wasn't there, which is not illegal in any manner, knowing that in the past when people had done that, they'd written it up as though the person was some kind of pimp. But I was secretly recording everything as well, so I'd be able to prove what really took place and go to a rival newspaper and expose the truth about how they lied about things. Little did I know that through drugging me, socially engineering me, putting my publicist on the payroll to manipulate me, outright lying as well, then being all levels of the supply chain, that I ended up for a small period of time having in my possession some counterfeit coins. It's all explained at circusofthemind.net, but in a manner where I felt I had legal, lawful excuse of it being in the public interest for journalism. Now, for some reason, the British court decided back in 1998, the CPS decided that Mahmood would be afforded the public interest for journalism defense, so he wouldn't get done for motivating me and giving me money to go and pick up these counterfeit coins. But they didn't allow me, even though I had proof that I was recording him and what my intentions were, at the time they did not allow me to have that defense if it was in the public interest that I was going to go somewhere else. So I actually got jailed over that, which is part of my claim, which you'll see at circusofthemind.net against News Group. In my claimant-specific particulars of claim, I am also suing them for creating a malicious prosecution. And as you'll see at that same link, in the past couple of years, it has come to light, and this is conjecture. I can't prove this 100% yet, but maybe the Crown Prosecution Service didn't allow me the same public interest defence because they were involved in a cover-up with News Group newspapers and or the fake sheikh, who's since been proven to have corrupt links with the Metropolitan Police. Some would argue the CPS, but what we do know now for certain is documents have come to light in the Royal Courts of Justice, the High Courts of England, in the past couple of years, of written documents between the Metropolitan Police and the Crown Prosecution Service, communicating with each other after the collapse of a 1994, so that predated my story by 4 years, a 1994 sting story by Mahmood, that led to somebody being taken to court. It collapsed. And the judge uncovered the fact that Mahmood was lying. And the police and the Met Police and the Crown Prosecution Service communicated with each other in writing and said that Mazen Mahmood should never and could never ever be relied upon as a witness of truth again in any case. And yet, they carried on, despite those communications, jailing people based on his perjurious lies and fabricated false evidence until 2014, when the Talisa trial collapsed. Meaning that myself and a whole bunch of other people who were stitched up have got unsafe convictions, and we have a campaign to get those convictions overturned, which is also part of all this that's mentioned at circusofthemind.net. So when you hear bullshit rumors about me on the internet, that's what they are, bullshit. Whereas what I'm saying is backed up by court documented evidence, which is in the public domain and easy for you to find at circusofthemind.net. But if you think that I've photoshopped something, then once you've seen the document on my site, go and Google it, because it's genuinely available from the Royal Courts of Justice own websites. It's in the public domain and telling you the truth. So yeah, also when it comes to the media, there's nobody in the stage hypnosis business that knows how the media can lie and fuck up your career more than me. All
right, so yeah. let's round this back around. Let's do a 30-second pitch on this talk. The quick synopsis of what we're going to learn.
January 2025, live in Las Vegas, or online via Zoom, or on the recordings. You're going to learn from me, Alex-Leroy Smith by birth, but better known as Jonathan Royle, the British bad boy of hypnosis. The shocking will piss a lot of people off, guaranteed techniques that mean you can never fail at your Comedy Stage Hypnosis show. If 12 people volunteer, you'll use 12 people in your show. Now, if only 6 people volunteer, fine. 6 is your limit, but you'll use all 6. You will never fail in the eyes of the audience. Some purist stage hypnotist might go, well, it's a bit cheeky when they've learnt the techniques. I don't give a shit about cheek. I give a shit about making maximum money for minimum effort. And if the audience walk away happy and you get rebooked, that's success. If the people on stage go back to the audience and genuinely believe they were hypnotized, that is success. So I'm also clarifying here, these techniques, whilst some of them involve trickery and deception, are in such a manner that when the people go back to the audience, they will genuinely be like, what the hell happened? I don't know what happened. You know, they could go back and go, went on stage as a skeptic. What the hell just happened? Because there are always what in the magic mentalism world, you know, Jo Beth, are called outs. There are ways of doing things, but some of these ways no one else is teaching. But I will be January 2025.
All right, you heard it here. If you are wondering what the hell just happened, then you better be at PHS, whether it be online or in person. And one of the cool things is if you are watching it online, and I highly recommend coming in person. But all of the people who are presenting live and in person get streamed out there, get recorded, so the access after the fact is there and available. So, all right, it's been quite some time that we've spent here. I appreciate your time. I think you
thank you for
a little longer than you anticipated, but awesome. So yeah, PHS 2025, PHS rocks. Join us there. And until next time, we'll see you on the next episode with the next
Egotistically and arrogantly, I will end by saying there is not a single talk at PHS 2025 that will prove to be more useful to you if you actually want to be a stage hypnotist who is safe, legal, lawful, licensed, insured, and wins every time. You can never fail.
Gotta love it. All right. Until next time, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to the Between Two Minds Behind the Scenes podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media under Between Two Minds with the number 2 instead of TWO, or under Enter the Impossible. Thank you, and we hope to see you back for the next episode.